it's Adam. I phoned up. I think you've got the details. If you're not, I'll repeat them. Basically, I'm just
No,
asking. Oh, so do you need my details again?
no, that's fine. Go on, please. No,
I'm just
please continue.
requesting if you can stop sending me these letters that I feel are harassing. Because I don't think any other firm would do this and be allowed. And when I read that letter, it suggested criminal action. And it didn't really. I mean, I know people who are getting these letters and they've got mental health problems and they're not watching television, but just out of fear, they're paying for a license that they don't need. And the letters themselves don't seem very clear on. It's more about threats rather than do you really need the TV license? Because my understanding is if you're not watching TV, I mean, I don't even have a TV, live TV or so on, then you don't need a license. But it's not particularly clear on the letter. And I've requested before, when you did this before, not to send me any more letters because I find it irritating that, first of all, that I have to phone up every few years to do this nonsense about confirming. I mean, considering nobody watches television, it's just full of rubbish from what I gather. I haven't watched television for at least 10 or so years. Like most people, just watch YouTube these days. The BBC apparently, I think, gets less views than some twit with a camera recording himself eating dinner. I mean, that's how appalling the BBC has become. But I would like these letters to be stopped permanently because I just feel they're harassing and irritating. If circumstances do change, which they won't, because I have no intention to purchase a television. I mean, I just use a phone. That's all I have. I have no need for getting a television. It's pointless. So I'd like them stopped fully because unless you've got some legal powers that no other firm has, I'm not sure.
Unfortunately, TV licensing operate under criminal legislation, not under civil legislation.
Right.
We are charged under that Act, the Communications Act, to investigate the licensing requirements of every address in the UK. We fall foul of the Data Protection Act, which states you can only hold information if it's accurate, relevant, and up to date. The only information we'll record is that someone says they're not watching TV at the address. We still have to investigate it as part of the Communications Act. So unfortunately, this isn't something we can do. We're not a civil process, we're a criminal one. And that's why it's on the letters. The letters will state it's a criminal offence if someone does this. This is how you buy a license, how to get a free license, and how to tell us you're not watching TV. But it is operated under criminal legislation. So unfortunately, this isn't an option for TV
Why don't you
licensing.
just send out a standard letter? Well, why don't you just send out a letter saying, do you have a TV license or not? Rather than this sort of...
Because
it looks rather...
because
it looks like something you'd expect from some dodgy car firm that charges... Sorry.
Because if an officer turns up on the property, they read out the pay statement and it's done under PACE Act. They also use the RIP Act when using detection equipment and so on, because it's a very formal process. Unfortunately, some people aren't going to be in the same situation as you. Some people are going to be in a situation where they're found to be watching TV illegally and taken to court and prosecuted by the courts. We have to make it clear that that is an option for people. It's one letter for everybody, which means everyone gets the same information.
Well, it also goes on to say be sensible. Well, it shouldn't also be on the letter that if somebody does turn up, they don't need to answer the door to them if that happens. I mean, it should be clear that they've got no obligation.
Unless TV licensing, for example, have a warrant.
Well, but is how often does that happen?
The problem is it makes it much more formal and it would be seen, again, but that would make it much more problematic for people where that happens.
But surely that's
no, it's not a different circumstance. It's one circumstance for everybody, so that nobody's being treated unfairly. Again, this isn't that we're going to choose who we want to. It's again, that would be a problem for the public. We make sure it's fair and transparent of all actions.
Well, do you think it is fair for people who've learned? Well, people with who've got mental health problems. It's clearly not fair on them if they're receiving these letters and they might not even be watching television, but just simply out of fear, they're paying it. I do know somebody in that circumstance.
And if they contact us, we could discuss it with them. Again, you're assuming that TV licensing is a thing that everybody needs a TV license, which we don't. Again, the question we ask is, do you receive or record a live TV signal? Again, our staff are there to administrate the license fee, not to try to catch people out. If someone's not watching TV, we'll update our records with that. Again, that's what we're there to do.
But surely
there is that TV licensing is trying to get people fair. We're there to administrate it. It makes it fair.
But don't you think it's down to the person themselves to contact you? It's like if I bought a gun. I presume I'd need a gun license. It'd be for me to contact the authorities that I've got a gun, rather than the police don't phone me every day to see if I've got a gun license.
Unfortunately, no. You have to have the license before you can get the gun. You need that. Again, it's that way around. So unfortunately, that isn't a valid thing. But again, I'll point out to you now that every TV, it says the actual offence is to have TV equipment installed for use under Section 363 of the Communications Act. The problem is that would include things like mobile phones, iPads, anything like that can receive a TV signal. Now,
Sure.
it's not enforced that way. It's enforced if you're watching live TV. So again, it's being done on a fair and balanced method. But again, we make it as simple and as open for everybody.
But Charlotte, the reality is that I would imagine these days the majority of people watch everything on YouTube, and that's not live. And your letters, I would say it's not. It's slightly deceiving in the information. It seems to, have
How's it deceiving?
Well, first of all, it's when you open it, the letter I received, it had this like big red box saying, "Oh, criminal, criminal, criminal," and there was very little
It doesn't say that.
information. It's a
It doesn't.
standard letter that I gather that you send out, but it's obviously people who are vulnerable will read that and presume that's personalised to them. The reality is, I presume that if I was to ignore the letter fully, there's very little that would happen except maybe you'd send somebody out, and if I ignored them, it's not going to go anywhere, is it? You don't have.
Again, but you're assuming that everyone's in your circumstance. You're not assuming everyone could be in different circumstances.
Well, that's what I
the
mean.
problem.
You're
not
presuming.
one. Yeah, but again, you can't. No. You're assuming how we act with this. But again, everyone is different and everyone's different circumstances. Unfortunately, some people are watching TV illegally. Some people, unfortunately, and against their best nature, are going to have a warrant served against them.
But that's pretty
again,
unlikely.
They're going to get the same letter.
You'd
get the same. They get.
Wouldn't you need to have
You'd have to have evidence.
Yeah, wouldn't that's what I mean. So
Evidence,
if somebody's if you can't see the TV, which in most cases is unless they've got the curtains open, you can walk into the garden. It's not going to be.
Or we could just use the detection equipment which we use under the Ripper Act.
What, they're like TV
it's
vans?
Used against search warrants.
What, you mean you've got
again,
TV
used against
vans?
Search warrants and they're done.
So I
yes, they're used to gain warrants under the Ripper Act.
but so you're saying you've got equipment such as a TV light van to detect TVs being on? I thought that was an old spice tale.
Well, there's a part of legislation for it under the Ripper Act, and it's
so
used
do they exist or not?
Court.
Do they exist?
Yes,
Come
they're
on.
used to gain warrants.
Oh, so just be clear, you're saying there's TV vans that can detect if somebody at a certain house, the TV's on. So when did they come in? Because in the 60s, they didn't. That was just a falsehood. So what year did they start to develop?
They're covered under. They're covered under. I keep on mentioning this the entire time. They're covered under the Ripper Act.
Yes, you're saying that there's a legal act, but I'm just saying, does this equipment even exist, or is it just an old wives' tale?
Yes, it's.
So when did it
used in court to gain search warrants?
So when did this equipment kick in? Because until last year, I presumed this was an old wives' tale. Because obviously, how does it?
Sir, we've been using it. Sir. That equipment's been in use for quite a long time.
So it
before I started working here, and that's 20 years.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yep. So it can detect exactly a TV being on and receiving live. So
it's enough. It's enough. It's not. Like I say, you'll not be told how it works because it's covered under the Ripper Act, but it's enough for
fair enough. That's interesting. Right. Obviously, the moments. My understanding is it have to be plugged into the aerial, and so if somebody,
why, sir?
Well, that's what I've seen on the YouTube.
Television's digital now.
Oh, so
again, sir, but if it's covered under the Ripper Act, how would they know how it worked?
Well, it's fascinating. So all this. All right, fair enough. If that's what you're saying, it's fascinating that the equipment can do that. I presumed. Again, it's like with your mobile phone. If somebody watches it live off a web channel, can you detect that? Because I'd have thought that'd be nearly impossible to know if somebody's watching the live.
If they were watching live TV in the digital age.
Yeah, it'd be virtually impossible. Let's say, which I don't, because I don't know what channels there would be. Obviously it's just YouTube, so they're all pre-recorded. But let's say you managed to watch. I presume if you went on iPlayer, well, let's say not even iPlayer. Let's say an American one that's live. I presume that'd be illegal then, wouldn't it, under UK law? So you'd need a license.
The copyright issues. Well,
Well, no, if you're
again,
watching
any live
a live
TV and ignoring
TV.
copyright,
No, well, presumably if I'm watching
any live TV, again, sir,
yeah.
again, I'm not going to be able to answer any of these questions, but I can just state it's enough to be able for a court to issue out a search warrant to investigate the property.
Right, fair
So
enough.
it's that good, sir.
That's fascinating. All right, well, fair enough. But I would again, I know you're not going to, but I would request these letters at least changed, at least
Again, sir.
reworded to be less threatening and more,
Again,
because
sir.
they do look. Don't you agree that they look like something you'd expect some sort of tacky, one of these sort of where where you go on a bit of land and you got some low
Pardon,
life
sir.
stick. Hmm?
So what did you say there, sir?
So don't you think they look a bit naff though? They don't look like something you'd expect a proper company to send out. It's the sort of letters you expect from.
Sir,
Yep.
that letter covers all information that someone would need for every single situation that we can think of on a base letter.
Well,
How to get a free license, how not to need a TV license, how to buy a TV license,
it doesn't
what
really.
will happen if you watch
The
TV and
letter
found
I
it
read
without.
wasn't
Okay,
very.
it covered everything.
Yeah, but the letter I read wasn't very clear on if you needed one or not. It was a sort of wishy-washy at the bottom, not particularly. It was more about going to court basically and all the fines and things. And it just the layout doesn't
Again,
look
sir,
very professional. I mean, it looks like I say, it's the sort of thing I'd have expected from, when you get a parking fine from a private firm that's a bit dodgy, trying to, and often you just ignore them
again, sir, I'll
anyway.
advise, sir,
Yep.
the letters are checked against multiple legal departments to ensure
They
they cover
might be
all areas
legal,
so
but there's
that
difference
everyone's got the
between.
information they want.
Yeah, they might be legal, but they look rather naff. They don't look like a
Again,
professional.
sir,
You
the
don't
letter,
expect that to be sent out by any firm of any quality, would you? I mean, surely you don't think that, when you send them out with this sort of threatening tone. And again, I mean, it's, I mean, like I said, surely out of decency, you'd put on there. I mean, even the dodgy parking firms have some legal information on the back, and I looked at yours, and it wasn't. I don't think there was anything really there that felt like it was legal information. I mean, it would have been nice, I'd have thought, to be very clear on the legislation and what would
sir,
be.
the letter states it's the Communications Act 2003. It states it on all of the letters.
It might stay, but it's in a sort of wishy-washy way. It's done. I wouldn't say it's done in a
Again,
nice.
sir,
Hmm?
okay, I will advise at this point, there's nothing further we can state. The
Fair
letters are
enough
worded
then.
that way for a reason. We hold the
Okay.
information to the Data Protection Act for as long as we can. After that point, we'll ask for permission to keep the information on file. If we don't receive a response, it'll be deleted, and we'll reset all the information we hold.
And if somebody does come to the door, what happens if I film them and put them on YouTube just to make them look silly and follow them to the car? Because
Again, how would you feel if you were doing your job and someone did that?
well, I think I wouldn't feel very good if I was going to a private house that doesn't want you there and you're harassing them. I mean, it's
Again,
not.
they're there to investigate the licensing requirements for property under the Communications Act.
Well, I
You may
think.
not appreciate it, sir, but that's what the law states.
Yeah, but I am still legally allowed to film them, aren't I, and put them on YouTube?
Again, sir, down to yourself, but again, the officers aren't there to be abused.
No, it's not been abused. They've just been filmed just to show how they're acting.
Again, so you just said, no, sir, at this point you said you'd follow them to the car. That isn't normal, sir. That's not.
Well,
That's not
I
polite.
think, I might not put the number plate on, but I think I might walk down the street.
No, sir,
and chat to
following
them.
someone.
Yeah.
No, sir, that's following someone, sir. That is.
Well,
not
just follow them
polite.
to the end of this my
You
house.
could ask them to leave. So you could ask them
Yes.
to. So you could ask them to leave politely. You don't need to follow
fine.
them.
Well,
That is the difference between
fair
someone
enough. I'll do that then.
being polite and then someone not being polite, sir.
Okay, I'll do that then.
So that's not being polite.
No, it's not. Okay, well, I'll just film them to
we'll end the call,
the end
sir.
of the
Thank
house.
you very much for your time,
All right,
sir.
cheers. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye.